Hello and welcome to the latest episode of The Hex with John Arnold, Armand Kafai, and Daniel Robertson, myself. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up, like the post. Let us know in the comments what you're thinking about what we're talking about today in Leagues Cup and all the big signings coming to MLS over the next few weeks. We have got a lot to talk to you guys, so we've got 6 topics. Let's get into it. As we record this, we are just about an hour away from Leagues Cup Match Day 3 getting kicked off. So we are through 2 out of the 3 match days. It took a week to get through those. And yeah, guys, it's been a very interesting tournament so far. So what we wanted to do first as we kick things off is one word to describe Leagues Cup 2025 through 2 match days. Armand, let's kick it to you first.
It's been quick. Like the fast and furious nature of how this tournament has changed. I know we're going to talk about that, I think, a little bit more later on, has been really interesting to me because I was kind of like, okay, I like how format looks on paper, but how quick it's going to be. It's been fast and furious. The fact that we're on our last match day, essentially, and we'll be wrapped up at the end of this week, and we return to league play for both teams has definitely made it a lot more, I would say enjoyable for me because I can actually keep track of what's going on instead of having 2,000 games going on at once. I know I'm kind of mixed matching segments here, but to me, it's been super quick, and we've seen exciting games all throughout. We've seen, I feel like, a lot more penalty shootouts this year. I mean, I don't know if that's been proven or not, but we've been seeing that quite a bit. We've seen some upsets. We've seen some interesting results. We've seen some teams absolutely tank out. But for me, Daniel, it's just been really quick, and honestly, again, like kudos to I think MLS and Liga MX for coming together and being like, we want to make this kind of fast and furious, and I like it quite a bit, and I've enjoyed the games. I've caught some, I haven't caught all. I mean, I used to catch almost every single Leagues Cup game, but again, with how quick it is, it's kind of hard to do so. So for me, just really quick but enjoyable at the same time.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the format itself even more in a minute. But the word I chose was actually silencing. I think that it silenced a lot of people who were hating on it. And look, there's always going to be those people from the same Twitter accounts, the people who love to post photos of attendances, 20 minutes before the game kicks off, or right at kickoff in Dallas for a game that's starting at like 6:30 when no one can get there. There's always going to be the haters, right? But I think it silenced a lot of people who had issues with Leagues Cup. This tournament right now, it's averaging 3.5 goals a game, 126 goals in 36 games so far. 3.5 goals a game. That's what we've won. We saw, Club America, Minnesota, as good of a game as you'll watch this summer in terms of excitement. Seattle scoring 7 on Cruz Azul. John, I'm curious to hear how that was received down in Mexico.
They loved it.
Yeah, they probably. If you weren't a Cruz Azul fan, you loved it.
Most of the country loved it.
Yeah, and it's telling us things about teams. Atlanta United, look, their season is over. We thought maybe this was a chance that they could use to restart their season. No way. They lost their first 2 games. They're done. On the other hand, John, you mentioned LA Galaxy. You had them as your pick to win it. Right now, they're looking pretty good, and it's given them life. Imagine if you're a Galaxy player, you've basically been playing meaningless games for 6 weeks, and now you got to play Mora with Xolos. You've gotten to play some really fun games, and you've got some big games ahead. So for me, the word is silencing, like they're silencing the doubters. John, where are you going?
Well, first of all, check the record. I did not say the Galaxy would win Leagues Cup. I said they might get a CCC spot.
Okay.
My word is fun. Kind of just what you guys are saying. And to be fair, I think this was true of the last editions of Leagues Cup as well, but people forgot.
Right.
It's just fun. No ties. Look, I'm not advocating for this to be how we always experience soccer, but I think for 2 weeks in August, the dog days of summer, why not? No ties means penalty shootouts. I was at a family retreat reunion with my wife's family this weekend. A lot of them are fans of various Liga MX teams. But like any game that you just have on and it's like, oh, penalty shootout. But hey, come on, hey, penalty shootout, everybody,
right.
come on. And people are gathered around and people are asking questions. Who is this guy? People, it's easy to engage with when you know what's happening and know how to watch. Now, that's a difficult part. That's the part that maybe the leagues still have to sort of keep working on. But I think overall, when you watch these games, they've been fun. And that's the point of watching soccer. Having fun. It's okay. It's okay to like this. And I think all of us do.
And John, when you mentioning that, it made me think of something. None of us are huge hockey fans. Armand maybe is the biggest hocky fan out of all of
Oh,
us
gee,
because
he's a big Vancouver Canucks guy, right?
you will run into him in random places wearing a Vancouver Canucks jersey. But it reminds me of the Four Nations shootout that they had in Four Nations face-off or whatever they called it. I'm not locking into the NHL in February, but dude, I was locked in for a week to those Four Nations
definitely.
games. Exactly. So it's kind of like that. It reminds you, hey, we're here. We're about to head towards our most important games of the season, and now is the time to lock in. Armand, you mentioned in your word to describe it as quick, based on the format, which was probably the biggest problem with Leagues Cup is that it just went on and on and on. There was a round of 32. There was a round of 16. Those are gone. There is no more of that. After these next three games on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it goes straight to the quarterfinals in a couple of weeks. But John, do you think that this new format what is your kind of, I guess, even like a grade for this format? Do you think it's helping the competition excitement?
Yes, I think it is still sort of a lot, but in some ways, I think it was important to condense that down. Now the Liga MX teams are going to go back to Mexico, play their league matches this weekend. The four who make it through are coming back to the US, but it feels like a privilege instead of a punishment where a lot of these teams were stuck in the US for a month while some of the other teams that got eliminated early were back training, getting ready, asking Mexico to play matches, league matches that put the other teams at a total disadvantage for advancing in Leagues Cup. They fixed that, and I think it's opened up these opportunities. Listen to the list of clubs that are going to play meaningful matches: Juarez, Mazatlan, Puebla, Xolos. These are teams that have not played important games, with the exception of Juarez making the play-in. These are teams that have not played meaningful matches in years, guys. Years. And now you're seeing that those teams are going to play. You mentioned earlier, LA Galaxy. Look, I mean, I think Portland and Seattle obviously have other things going on, but like Portland and Seattle trying to be the top two seeds in this. The Red Bulls. I just think it gives the new format gives opportunity for some of these teams to really take it seriously. So really more like a traditional cup that we've seen, in many other leagues where you say, oh, well, this team is toast in the Premier League, but
Right.
oh my gosh, they're on this amazing FA Cup run. In some ways, you can sort of do that. And the prize at the end for these teams that, as we speak, only have one, two, three, potentially more games left, is a top three spot gives you a 2026 CONCACAF Champions Cup bid. And let me tell you, if you're Mazatlan, if you're Juarez, if you're the Red Bulls, you get that spot in the competition. Maybe you spend on one or two players that you wouldn't have before because all of a sudden you have these games, you have this opportunity, and I think it really reignites your local fan base in addition to this global brand that everyone is sort of trying to build in Leagues Cup. So for me, if I'm giving a grade, I'd probably give a B plus, just because I do think there's still just a lot. It's a huge avalanche of soccer, but I don't really know how to totally avoid that. I'm also not super complaining about it, but I'm a sicko. I think for most people, it's kind of too much if you're just a casual fan to sort of take in the whole tournament. But overall, I think it's an improvement. And it's made things, for me more exciting and interesting, especially as we get into what I think will be the most exciting this last match day where teams all need to jockey for positions.
And Armand, from an MLS side, he mentioned the Galaxy a little bit, mentioned some of these Liga MX teams that, look, at this point, if on Tuesday night, as we are recording, if you are alive right now, you are two results from playing for a CONCACAF Champions Cup spot. For a team like LA, Galaxy even, I mean, that can change the entire trajectory of your season in Minnesota United, and it may change exactly how you spend on players.
All right. I just think the one thing that, again, I don't know how this can even be avoided is, I mean, if depending on how badly you lose your first game, like you might be in like just essentially playing two games where you're just kind of like, whatever.
And playing later in the match days is a huge advantage as well. Wilfred
Right.
Nancy was complaining about this a lot, right?
Right, exactly. And it's like, if you know where you're going to be, okay, maybe you're going to try. Oh, maybe you're not going to make it. You're going to pull back and get ready for, for what's going on with the next. Cause you literally have a game on Saturday or Sunday for some of these teams. So for me, that's an aspect which I don't know how you can control for that unless you just trim down the teams, which I don't think they really want to do. But like that's the only way I can really kind of see that being controlled for. I mean, outside of that, you're going to have the Dynamo playing tonight, they're probably going to play like a Mickey Mouse lineup, I would assume, with eyes towards the game against Austin over the weekend, which is a big match for them. I know it's like talking about the lower end of those teams, but I mean, I will say I think towards if I remember correctly from the Leagues Cup format last time, and again, I'm not saying we should go back to that. You were kind of competitive all the way through because like a third place team.
There was only 2 games. Well, there was only 2
exactly,
games.
But I mean, like exactly, but like outside of that, like. That's the only complaint I have. I think the rest of it is, I would grade it a B. I think it's a good format. I like the ideas behind it, etc. If you want every single Liga MX team, this is how you're going to do it.
But listen, I think that what's important is that this works. To me, this works. I think they got to stick with it. If Leagues Cup is continuing into perpetuity, you have to get a situation where, again, this casual fan, if you just tune in right now, you're just like, what is going on? I need to go to leaguescup.com and read John Arnold's articles, and that's true because I don't know what's happening in this format. And it's like the longer you stick with something, we all know how the NCAA tournament works. Even with the play-in game, the 68, it's been happening long enough that we all get it. You got to make this the same.
One idea to make it better, maybe next year, those quarterfinals. How about the top seeds get to host quarterfinals, whether they are in USA or Mexico? I think that would add a little bit more. Now, looking at the standings, it is a total jumble to try and figure this out, which is a good and bad thing. I think some structure is nice, but boy, anything could happen over the next 3 days. And I think some of those PK shootouts on that third day may decide who goes through. But looking at that, there are lots of teams that have been impressive. So we wanted to talk in segment 3 about which teams have impressed us in Leagues Cup. And I'll go ahead and kick us off on this one because I'm going to go to, right now, there are 3 teams that have won outright in 90 minutes their first 2 games in Leagues Cup. Tigres, who play LAFC on Tuesday night from the Liga MX side, and then from MLS, going up to Cascadia, Seattle and Portland have both won their 2 games. I'm going to take, I realize this may be a little bit of low-hanging fruit. I'll take the team that scored a touchdown and an extra point against the reigning CONCACAF Champions Cup winners, but I'm going to take the Seattle Sounders, and it's for a few different reasons. I mentioned before that this tournament is telling us something about these teams as they head into important games. Obviously for MLS, more important than Liga MX, where there's still an entire league season to go, whereas MLS teams have 8-9 games left in the year. But I've had my eye on Seattle since CONCACAF or since the Club World Cup because I thought they played a lot better than their record indicated in the tournament, where they played some really tough games. Well, guess what? The last time they lost a game was that third game of CONCACAF Champions Cup. They have not lost since since Club World Cup. 8 games.
I was like, I don't think that's right.
That is definitely that is not correct. They've lost plenty of games since CONCACAF Champions Cup, but they haven't lost since early July, late June. 8 games unbeaten now, and you want to talk about a confidence builder. If you are Brian Schmetzer and you are trying to get the most out of your team, you go to them and you say, you just beat the reigning Continental champions with their starters 7-0 on your field. You can beat anyone in MLS and you have no excuses. You are good enough. I don't care who we have on the field. We were missing players in that game too. Jordan Morris wasn't playing, etc. That is a huge confidence boost for the Sounders. And I think that's something, if they make a playoff run this year, I think we're going to look back at this Leagues Cup. Let's see how they go in the tournament. And the other aspect of that is, guys, it finally seems like Jesus Ferreira is looking a little bit comfortable. 6 months into any job, any of us, we've all started new jobs. It takes you 6 months to get comfortable.
You lie about learning Excel, then you have to figure out how to use Excel.
Right. Yeah. Canva, all those sorts of things. Now he's running pivot charts in Excel. He's really feeling good here. That's Armand's world. And he's feeling good. He had a goal and an assist against Cruz Azul, and I just see him playing with a lot of confidence right now. That is really exciting to me because the Sounders cannot go deep in the playoffs without Jesus Ferreira playing well. So for me, Seattle is the team that has impressed me the most so far.
It was funny. After that game, Schmetzer was kind of saying, hey, we all need to enjoy this. And he was like looking at the press and he's like, kind of like, hey, y'all too. And then like someone finally, after like 5 or 10 minutes, was like, well, what would you kind of improve? And he was like, oh, you're already looking for a negative. Schmetzer's always good natured. I think he has a nice relationship with the Seattle press corps. But kind of said, hey, we got to just enjoy this and then focus on Santos, but enjoy. And they sure, they didn't look bad at all against Santos either. My team is FC Juarez. This is a team that has really accomplished nothing since becoming a team. They kind of talk about big ambition. They've had different projects that have seemed ambitious, and it's never come together. Last year, they made the play-in, which was the first kind of meaningful postseason match that FC Juarez had ever played. And this year, they come to Leagues Cup, and I think they just, like, to use a stupid cliche, understand the assignment, because they're pushing for these games. And against Charlotte, they'd have the game won. Charlotte gets a player sent off late, and Juarez is like, we gotta score. And they win that game 4-1 instead of 3-1, and that could make all the difference as they try and get a spot. Then they go play FC Cincinnati, one of the better teams in MLS, a player that just can't be stopped in Evander. There's some moments there too. A penalty miss from him, and Juarez gets the 2 points from that game. If they are able to advance, which they're going to hold their destiny in their hands, they have one of the late games that Wilfred Nancy's frustrated about. They're going to have, they're going to know what they need to get, or they should by that point. If they get into the quarterfinals of this tournament, it's just a huge moment for that club, and not only any club in Mexico, because it would be a big moment for Puebla, a big moment for Mazatlan, but a club that wants to have that international brand and has aspirations to be known in the U.S., to get fans in the U.S. There's a huge opportunity for FC Juarez, and I've been impressed with what they've done on the field. When you look at Martin Varini, the kind of way he's getting a lot out of the players, it's a well-built squad. They're definitely turning some heads in a way they never have in the past.
The thing I love about them too is it just seems like they're just playing in YOLO mode. Like they realize, look, we have nothing to lose. If we don't do well in this, we have nothing to lose, but everything to gain. And if I had told you, all right, which team is going to score the most goals in Liga MX through the first two games? Oh, okay, Tigres. Yeah, that makes sense. It's Tigres and Juarez. So it's fun to see. And John, I was going to ask you about that Martin Varini. Like, is this? I assume the media in Mexico is starting to talk about him a little bit. And I mean, maybe it's a little bit early. Like it hasn't been that many games yet, but he had a good run in the last tournament. Now he's got them on a good run again. I see he's 34. Like this is a young guy. This is super interesting. He's younger than me.
I talked to him for the newsletter before Juarez's play-in match, and he's a guy who I actually profiled when he's even younger. He coached the Copa Libertadores at age 28, and I did a story on him then. Kind of classic story of played but got injured, but then since then he's been studying and studying and studying. He's a guy who does see soccer in this sort of tactical way. I think kind of a very modern manager, happy to kind of convince players this is what we need to do. This is the role. And Juarez is achieving this having sold a couple players in the offseason. Yeah. So is he attracting attention in the Mexican press? No, but that's more on the Mexican press than it is about what he's doing. I think the fact that he is, I've talked to a couple of other people, I think he's going to be mentioned a little bit tonight on Season Pass, or maybe Thursday, whenever. I talked to some of the Season Pass folks about what he's doing, and it just seems like the recognition is coming from this side of the border, and if you're FC Juarez, you'd almost rather have that than a story from, Mexico, Televisa or someone doing something. So I think they're happy with what he's doing. A really young guy, a bright guy, and a guy who my suspicion is we'll be hearing a lot about for the next several years.
And Armand, you've got, 6 years to get to his achievements. So there's still plenty of time for you to coach a Liga MX team to the
I'll pass on that. I'll pass on that for right now.
Hey, you never know. But who are you looking at?
Minnesota, man. Like, I understand that they've been a good team in MLS. But the performance that they've had in Leagues Cup have kind of showed, hey, we're not only just a good team in MLS. I mean, that game against America, that was whether like it or not, America is a top team in the continent. And for Minnesota to push them to the limit, take the lead, then blow it, unfortunately, is rough for them. But they showed, like, hey, this is how we play. This is our style, and we're going to commit to it. I mean, this is a team that, hey, like, they need these games because, I mean, there was a moment where I think we were all impressed by Minnesota. Like, are they legit?
Yeah.
Like, sure. Are they like, is this serious? Is this for real? To me, this shows, I'm not going to say they're legit just yet, but this shows that, hey, they're taking steps with their game model, with the way that they're playing, etc. And that result against America is, I mean, they were away. Like, and they played in Houston, which is technically away for them. They had to travel. Well, it probably is far to go from Minnesota Texas and Utah to Texas,
but that's
they had to play
basically
away.
a CONCACAF Champions Cup game for
Yes.
them, and a lot of capacities which they don't get an opportunity to play in that tournament, right? Maybe they will next year, but that's basically an away game for them, like you
Exactly. So and the way that they played, I thought was really great. They again pushed America to the edge. So for me, it was Minnesota. I thought you were gonna say the most interesting team, so I had America written because I was like they hadn't been playing well, which was like
Well,
like,
there is
kind of rough.
I mean, while we're on that, I'm interested as well, and we'll talk about this in just a second. But with LAFC and how, boy, like
I would blow this game off if I were them. To be honest with you,
they're not beating Mazatlan at home. Like that's not good. The Pachuca game, the red card was really unfortunate to them because they were actually playing very well against Pachuca.
Ordaz elbowed a guy.
Right, or Nathan Ordaz elbowed a guy, as you said.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, lots of talking points. The next, the third and final match day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we will see what we have in the quarterfinals. Speaking of LAFC, I don't think they are too worried, guys, about what happens in Leagues Cup because the circus is coming to town in Los Angeles. It's not official yet, but Fabrizio Romano's reported it, which is about as good as gold. Fabrizio Romano, Tom Bogert, they're all over it. Heung-Min Son,
Paul Tenorio.
By
the time you're listening to this, you'll be in LA.
What if he walks out tonight before? You remember when Clint Dempsey in Seattle did the thing where he took off the jacket?
That'd be sick.
Could he walk out tonight with
or the hat, the LAFC hat thing?
The hat thing. Maybe what's
you could do a live hat thing.
Maybe he's the guest falconer.
I don't know that one.
Ollie.
That'd be sweet. Or he's wearing the falcon hood and they pull it out. No, I don't know how you pull that off.
Or he's the
It's
falcon.
LA, man. But what's that magician place where everyone? It's like a bar and you have to. It's like a club that you have to get in.
Medieval times.
No idea.
No, it's in LA and it's like a magician's hangout. I don't know, man.
I'm
not
a
magician.
Know, hey, I mean, the marketing ideas abound. Maybe we'll see him tonight. If you heard it here first, if that happens. But Heung-Min Son, the Tottenham legend, 31 years old. Armand's got the Tottenham jersey on for those listening on podcast. He is basically, it'll be announced in the next day or two, he's joining LAFC, a landmark signing for the league. Armand, where does Son to LAFC rank? I want a number. Where does it rank in the biggest signings in league history?
I have it at 3. And man, it's the gap between 2 and 3. I think it's pretty close. I think Messi's 1. I think Beckham is 2. Obviously, I was a little bit younger when Beckham was around, so I think maybe for you guys might be flop. I have Messi 1, Beckham 2, Heung-Min Son 3. I mean, guys, my buddy who's Korean watched every single Tottenham game because of Heung-Min Son. And he's told me, hey, do you have your MLS season pass? I want to watch him play as well, too.
It's tough to find a more iconic player to his specific national team outside of like Messi. I'm not sure there is one.
I don't think there is. And it's funny. You'll see like streamers like who are like Man United fans. If they play against, if they were playing against Tottenham, they would clap, like Korean streamers, they would clap and celebrate, but then be pissed that Man United allowed a goal. Like he's that much of an icon. And look, on the field, I think it's going to be interesting to see his impact.
We'll talk about that.
But commercially, I think it's massive. And the fact that it's like what, a $27 million deal? It's the biggest deal in MLS history by a significant margin, more than Latte Loth, who was $22 million. And
how's that looking right now?
Yeah, it's not looking great, huh?
I know. I keep thinking about that. Like Atlanta keeps seeing that where it's like, this broke the record set by Atlanta United and Latte Loth, and they got to be like,
don't say that again. But it's an incredible signing. And especially in LA, who has a huge Korean population as well too.
Yes.
Like I think this is a perfect fit commercially, and I think on the field it's going to work out as well too. So for me, Daniel, it's number 3 on the list, just because the impact of Messi and Beckham implementing the DP rule coming as a result of Beckham, that would allow Son to be brought in.
John, you spent a lot of time in LA, so you can probably speak as much as anyone about what Son from a Korean standpoint to Los Angeles would mean too.
Yeah, no. My buddy Steve Han has really filled me in. He's a great follow on Blue Sky and Twitter. He's a Korean American guy who does a lot of Korean coverage of soccer, but he does social media stuff in English. He writes in English too if people want to hire him. But he's invited me to K-Town this past visit. We had great Korean barbecue.
That's not far from Emo, right? K-Town
is it's very nearby, very nearby. And in fact, there's a supporters group that's basically from K-Town, the Tigers supporters group of LAFC that is almost entirely Korean fans. it's going to be huge for that market. I mean, look, even if you don't go to K-Town, like the biggest skyscraper in downtown LA has the Korean Airlines logo on it. Like this is it is a big culture. And I think also Korean culture quite relevant right now in California anyway. When you look at K-pop, when you look at, automobiles, whatever, there's just a big presence. And it's going to be huge, not just for that, but I think that he's a huge name, recognizable name that kind of is a cross section. But I do think the influence of a Korean player at LAFC is going to be huge and kind of win over if there are people who are kind of holding out. It's going to be crazy. We actually talked about it, Steve and I, potentially happening before there were even rumors. What would it mean if Son came here? Because he said, it's starting to look like he might leave Spurs at some point. And what if he came here? And he's like, I don't know if I could take it. I don't know if fans here would be able to sort of deal with just how immense that would feel because of this idol status that he has that we're talking about. That being said, I put it a little lower than 3.
Wow.
Put a little lower than 3 because I think when you look at some of I think Dempsey, I put Dempsey higher. I think that was a big deal to have an American player of that status coming at that point in his career. And I think you could argue, well, I wish I could merge it into one, like with Gio and Chicharito. Gio's signing, I think Gio's signing was such a big deal at the time because it was finally a Mexican superstar coming to LA, and it was at a time where we were thinking, and Son in some ways is in that kind of retirement category. I don't think it's quite fair. I think he's going to be. I don't think it's quite fair, but I think people are going to paint it like that. It's I put it bigger than Gerrard or Lampard or Pirlo, whatever. Those were the kind of clear retirement signings, but Gio came so much earlier that it seemed like, oh my gosh, players in their prime are now going to start coming to MLS. It hasn't totally borne out, but for me, that's why maybe that one is a little higher. Now it didn't work. I'm not saying he was the best signing, but I think biggest sensation. Yeah. It's up there for me.
Yeah, and Armand, I'm with you. I would put it at 3 as well. I still think Beckham is the biggest signing in league history because I think it's bigger than Messi because I don't think Messi happens if Beckham doesn't happen, and it's all a domino effect, right? Does Gio happen if Cuauhtemoc doesn't happen? There's all of these different dominoes. So you got to give respect, to the people who kind of walked so others could run, right? So for me, but it's still number 3 because I don't think there's a bigger draw in even Chicharito. Like, maybe this is a hot take, but I think Son is a bigger draw than Chicharito in MLS now. I think he will bring in more fans to every game than Chicharito. Maybe not right at the start, but I think Son will, like every LAFC game in every market will be sold out that he plays in for the next couple of years. And I don't think Chicharito really did that. Maybe a little bit, but I don't.
That's right. I don't think
he did that.
I think the thing is that Chicharito got. The whole thing got chopped
right, and it went sideways a little bit. It threw, no one's fault.
Then he got hurt. Yeah.
And even Zlatan you have to put in that mix as well. But yeah, I mean, again, I think it is tough to understate how big this signing is for the league because I do think the league had been losing a little bit of momentum in its star power outside of Messi. And there was one team that everyone wanted to tune in to League Pass for. And now if you're Apple, you're like, shoot, another market, like, this is huge for MLS, for Apple, for everything about
Especially with the ease that you can go onto Season Pass as an international service, right? Like that's the whole thing that they were saying is you can go anywhere and watch it. Now you have a whole influx of probably Koreans that can watch it pretty easily.
And what about the time zone? And what about
it's going to be a jacked up time zone, but
wouldn't Los Angeles be better for Korea than England? Or I don't know. I don't want to bog down the show. Look it up, folks. Look it up on your phones to see what the best time zone is. If you're an early riser, it's good on one side, and if you're a night owl, it's better on the other. So we talked about the commercial impact of Son, but he's not the only player coming to MLS that has been announced, that will be announced. The league is taking a big step forward in the next week or so with the talent that they are bringing onto the field. Thomas Muller from Bayern Munich. It hasn't been officially announced yet, but it's also gotten the Fabrizio, here we go, stamp of approval to the Vancouver Whitecaps. Matt Turner is back with the New England Revolution. Rodrigo De Paul has already played for Inter Miami. The Timbers are about to sign a new DP forward as well, guys. So there's a lot of players that are coming into the league. On the field, though, out of Son, Muller, Turner, De Paul, if you want to go off the board, go for it. Which of these signings do you think, John, makes their team an MLS Cup favorite and will help their team the most this season?
I think De Paul has the most instant impact, and that might be just recentism because in his debut, which came without a single training session, he already looked like he just, I mean, and a lot of that I think is the connection with Messi, but I think that like giving Miami another player who is so comfortable in the ball, who understands that connection, knows where to look for Messi, and also gives the team a bit of steel, I think is positive. You know, I just yeah, like look, like when you look at the others, Matt Turner, no, that doesn't belong on this list, man. You just jammed that in there to mention Matt Turner on the show. Son, I think is going to be super helpful, but I feel like his impact might be longer term, and I think it might take him a little longer. And then Muller, yeah, I mean, it's a good signing, but I think like they were kind of churning along, doing their own thing already. So, give me De Paul.
Armand, where are you looking?
I have Son on there because if you slot Son in as a forward, and if you keep Bouanga, which is a big if, right? I mean, I know that
you play Son right in the middle.
He's not going to America.
Yeah, he'll stay for the year. Bouanga's here for the next few months. So
right. So I mean, I think you go Bouanga, Son, insert whoever you want on the right hand side. I think you have Son as your 9, and I think that's a big improvement from Nathan Ordaz. To be quite honest with you, I mean, all due respect to Nathan Ordaz, but it's Heung-Min Son. I think you slot him in there.
But that's not really where they were playing him at Tottenham, was it? I mean, he was more on the wing.
They're going to put him somewhere else because Bouanga and Son play the same position.
Okay, so does that present problems?
Potentially, but I think if
obviously you make the deal.
He'd be fine. He'd be fine. MLS defenses are bad, man. Just put him up top.
You don't think they can go on either side?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think you put
Bouanga's very one-sided. Bouanga's very one-sided. I think
Son is on the
equally one-sided as well. So I think you slot him as a 9 up top, and then maybe have a guy like David Martinez if they don't hate him on the right-hand side as well. I think it provides a pretty dynamic front three that's going to be pretty interchangeable as well too. Maybe Bouanga could shift centrally, have Son out wide, etc. I think this provides a, like I said, pretty good opportunity, and also it allows LAFC, like depending on what they want to do, they could switch roster construction models. They could add another TAM player if they wanted to. Aaron Long is out on SCI. That's going to open up salary space for them as well, etc. So I think the Son signing.
Do you think they're going to do all that right now?
I think they can and they will.
I didn't say they could. I said you think they will.
Yes, I think they have to use the Aaron Long money, and the Aaron Long money is going to be available. So they're going to have to utilize that money to begin with, which is going to be probably like $700,000-800,000 of a cap space.
Aren't they rumored after another center back? Like they've got a couple other signings. Like
yeah, and they have to get some center backs in because right now it's Kos and.
And that's why I go back to say I don't think it's the worst thing in the world for LAFC if they get eliminated from Leagues Cup by Tigres.
I think
it's pretty likely.
And I mean, De Paul I think is a great a great player and fits in I think really well. And we saw that in the first 2 games, even without Messi, his impact. But I think just with I wouldn't say struggles, but not having a true forward really in LAFC, they've had some moments where you're like, oh. A real forward would have scored that.
But they still don't have a true forward.
Son as a fake forward is better than Nathan Ordaz as a real forward.
Well, yeah, and I think John mentioned everything with Rodrigo De Paul that could be mentioned. So I do want to give a shout out to Thomas Muller, who's one of the best players of a generation. And you look at the Whitecaps. The Whitecaps are as much of a finished product. They're arguably a much more finished product than LAFC at this point with their roster. Now they sold Pedro Vite, which I think that is a move that will hurt them. But as long as they can keep Kubas and Berhalter healthy there in the middle. Now you've got Muller on one side, Jaden Nelson on the other side, Brian White up top. You've got Ryan Gauld, who was hurt, who's a very important player for them that could come back. That is suddenly a very deep roster. And the difference maybe that Muller is coming into versus these other teams is, obviously LAFC has that focal point with Bouanga, but it was Bouanga and Inshallah. Now it's Bouanga Son and Inshallah. But with Vancouver, they almost don't have to rely on Muller that much. Muller is a bit of a vanity player for them because they were already playing the way they were going to play and they weren't creating enough from the wing. Now you have a guy like Muller who can take some set pieces. He can send that service in on the free kicks to Brian White. Don't discount that one either because the Whitecaps are going to be a really tough team to get out in the playoffs this year. Guys, for sixth and final segment today, I was thinking about what has happened over the last few days in MLS, what will happen in the next few days as $30 million, $40 million of transfer fees are going to be paid in MLS between last week, this week, between De Paul, some of the players we already mentioned. The Timbers just signed a DP. Toronto FC is paying $8 million for Georgi Mihailovic. And it also got me to think about MLB trade deadline, because what we see in Major League Baseball, right, that has really played itself out over the last 20 years is there is pretty much always the same teams are buyers and the same teams are sellers. The Twins traded their entire roster basically because the team is going to be sold. The Pirates are always trading people. Name your teams. Are we not seeing that now in MLS as well? The haves and the have-nots that are not... there's just getting to be teams that are just not going to spend their money. And I think we are going to see this gap grow as we see now with Leagues Cup. They're only taking the top 9 teams. Like, you look at a team like FC Dallas. FC Dallas didn't play in Champions Cup. They didn't play in Leagues Cup. They're not going to play in Leagues Cup next year. They got knocked out of the Open Cup. These things make them money, but it's kind of like chicken or egg. Do you spend to make money and get the results that make you more money and get you farther, or do you not spend and kind of be a small market team? John, do you think we are starting to see... I feel like it's getting more and more stark with every year that passes. Obviously, there's always going to be teams in the middle, but the haves and the have-nots are kind of growing.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think parity is always going to be something that's important to MLS owners who are used to U.S. sports, where part of the fun is that anyone can win in a year. And I think that's still true in MLS to an extent. But I do think that those roster rules are going to start to be changed. And even with a team that did buy, you look at Matt Turner, I think we saw the comments from the sporting director there saying, like, that, total layup of a question from the press, like, hey, what's your team's goal? And instead of being like, win the MLS Cup, he's like, win some games and we'll also lose some, and you want to win more than you lose. And
it's like, so sometimes maybe good, sometimes
maybe shit.
It's like, yeah, but if you're telling me what your goal is and you're not just telling me that you're going to win titles, like, what are we even doing here? So I do think that the approach, when you meant the Rapids, man, just like, if you're a fan of the Rapids and you're being asked to drive to Commerce City and I think the atmosphere can be good out there. I think some of the fans are quite loyal, but Jordy's a player who kind of seemed heart and soul of the team, seemed to have a connection, and then he's pushed to this point where he's like, we're not going to win, I'm out. And they're happy to sell him to the highest bidder.
Well, and okay, let's look at FC Dallas. You say, okay, hey, we spent a lot of money last year bringing in Lucho Acosta or this or that. The Musa signing obviously was a big boy signing, and look, without him, they wouldn't, look what that gets you. Those $3-4 million signings now, those are becoming more like par for the course, like just the price of doing business, Armand, rather than a move that's going to, vault you up to the top of the league. Are you seeing the same thing with these haves and have-nots? And do you think it's a good thing?
I'm really interested because, I wrote about this earlier in the year about how MLS was kind of becoming almost NBA-ified, where it was like, hey, we're going to start selling off like our players, because again, you can roll over allocation money, you can have these multi-year builds, and I'm interested to see as we continue to progress on, are we going to see teams, Montreal came out and said, we're going to rebuild. We're flat out going to go through a rebuild. Does that mean selling off pieces to a team that maybe wants to compete immediately? Are we going to see stuff like that happen? Is there going to be a team that comes in and says, well, yeah, we want, I'm making up a name here, Dante Sealy. Mm-hmm. We want him.
Breaking news.
No, please don't aggregate this to our X amount of listeners. Do we want Dante Sealy? Hey, we'll offer you X amount of money for him to hit our books, or we're on, maybe have an expiring deal, or they're going to offer, these things definitely happen. Look at Toronto. Toronto said, hey, our season's dead. We're done. We're going to get rid of our 2 guys. We're going to start building for next future. And because the transfer windows are misaligned, that starts in the summer for MLS teams. Yeah. That's the most active window.
Yeah,
so you get that half
Son
year.
Isn't moving in the winter.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're not going to get, no one's going to be sold. No, it's going to be difficult to have activity. So then you start the year kind of in the middle of your almost rebuild in a way that kind of continues through. I do like to have and have nots, because MLS needs to be... Look, I don't think there's a reason for MLS teams to sit down and be like, we should lose games or anything like that, or to be bad, right? There's no incentive to be bad in MLS. There's only incentive, I would say, to be good. If you're bad, your gate tanks, because no one's going to the games at all. You don't have a big media deal as well too, like other leagues do, where you're not protected by that. So it hurts you as a whole. But some teams need to kind of, step it up a little bit, like MLS has some of the richest owners in the world outside like the Middle Eastern states that run those clubs. And yet these guys are moving like they make nothing. Almost.
Well, I think though, as many narratives as you can build, the better in MLS. Leagues need culture, teams need culture, and you know what? It is interesting. If the Pirates ever make the playoffs, it's a huge story around the world, not around the world, but around the United States, because the Pirates haven't made the playoffs in X amount of years, or we see that. But MLS doesn't have that because everyone makes the playoffs and this and that and whatever. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Obviously, I wish the team in Dallas was one of the teams that actually spent money rather than I guess,
I mean, they do spend money, just not well.
They do, just not well, right?
It's not well.
So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what happens in that aspect. And again, John, it's the same thing in Liga MX. I mean, we're talking about Juarez now, but they get a result in Leagues Cup. Now maybe that gives them some money, and maybe it's something that sparks them for years.
But I think that, like you're saying, like sports are often more fun with that sort of, like, Mexico is a great blend because you have these historic grandes, America Chivas, Pumas, and Cruz Azul, who sort of, like, sometimes they are amazing and unbeatable. And then you have these new money teams in Tigres, Rayados, and then you have, like, now and then you'll get Toluca, who has history, or Pachuca. Some of these other teams pop up, and that's where the drama. Pumas are grande, but that's where you get this drama, right? Where it's like all of a sudden you have like, can the Goliath get knocked down by the David? But in MLS, so often it's all there's no David or Goliath. Everyone's like just a troop.
Just mid.
And I do think that, like, if you get quote unquote super teams. It was kind of funny because the NBA, you mentioned, I'm on like NBAification. I agree with you, and I think you've really well laid out, in the past, sort of why the roster mechanisms are looking like the NBA and why the fandom is similar to NBA. Like NBA, I think, is actually exiting that era where you have the super teams, but I definitely see a world that MLS is entering it, and I just think that the roster regulations, which are not being changed right now, but Don Garber hinted at the All-Star game, would be changed maybe in the off season. That's what's going to really, really either pour gas on this idea or put it out. Because if everything stays the same, the parity will still be there. But if all of a sudden you can get a 5th, 6th, 7th DP or whatever mechanism they do, you're going to see some owners use that and some owners not.
And the movement, of course, with the calendar as well, which we expect in the future too. Back to the fall spring calendar. So, guys, we are about 20 minutes away from kickoff for the Leagues Cup Match Day 3. We got to get to some TVs. We got to go. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next week on The Hex.